everyone. My name is Taryn with Quest, and welcome to PeopleSoft HCM Configuration Series, HR Notifications. And today's speaker is Lisa Chow and Rajagopal Kandukuri. And so a few housekeeping notes to go over before we get started. All attending lines are in mute and will stay in mute throughout this session. If you do have any questions, please feel free to put those into the question drop-down box. We'll be answering those at the end of today's session. And this is being recorded, and it will be on the Quest Content Library, and everyone will receive an email when that is available. So at this time, I'm going to hand it over to Lisa, and she is going to kick things off.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa Chow, and I am a product manager director with PeopleSoft HCM. So let's see if I can control my slideshow here. Okay, so the safe harbor statement, we will be talking about the roadmap items at the end, so the safe harbor statement does apply. And the agenda for today is we'll first go over some of the basic HR notification functionality. Then we'll look at some recent enhancements that were delivered in image 34, which I think greatly improved the usability of the notification framework. And then I'll go through a demonstration of the functionality, and then we'll look at notifications in PeopleSoft in general. Some of you may just assume that we only have this one framework, when in actuality, we have at least 3 different frameworks that we kind of work with, talk about, and that you might actually be seeing. And then at the end, we'll talk about some roadmap items. So HR functionality in general provides the ability to compose and send notifications to an individual or a group of people in the HCM system. So that's one of the important things, is that it is specific to HCM. It can be invoked from related actions, where you see notify employee in the drop-down of related actions, or from the HR notification menu item. It can also be invoked from the notify button, but that, as I'll explain later, that would mean a slight change in PeopleTools. And it uses the PeopleTools app classes to publish notifications and emails. What that means is that underneath it all, we are still using PeopleTools and their functionality to publish the notifications and the emails. And that PeopleTools provides these app classes that pretty much anybody can subscribe to and use in order to use those different methods of publishing. So we take advantage of that, but what we do is we put a nice UI on top of it, and we make that UI easier for individuals to use. So let's look at the types of notifications that we can send. We can send email messages, we can send alerts, otherwise known as notifications. Those terms are kind of used interchangeably. And we can send an announcement. So the announcements, we don't use the PeopleTools app classes for. That is strictly something that HCM has built. And as you can see by the screenshot, we can do a combination. So you can send an announcement and a notification, or an email and announcement. You just can't send all 3 at the same time. So emails, you have the ability to send an email using one or more recipients, and that's in this too. And you can use PeopleSoft predefined app classes. So what that means is, for instance, this department, rather than having to select everyone in that department, you can just say, give me everyone in department 10500. And we provide the logic in the background, or the intelligence in the background to know who's in that department. Versus notifications and alerts. And it's similar to emails, but with no CC or BCC capabilities. And we will be looking at these more during the demo. So this is just kind of an overview. So the notification, what I'm talking about, is once you send it, it will appear up here under this bell. And there will have a badge with the number of notifications you have that are unread. You can also send an announcement. It's similar to notifications and alerts, but no notification category. And you're able to set up recurring announcements. So what it will look like is you have an announcement tile that we delivered in image 29. And so you can have it appear on that. So on this, you see that there are more than one announcement by this for unread. And by clicking on it, you can see all the announcements. I'll also show you that during the demo. And then the recipient. So this is what I was talking about, is we do provide some predefined application packages and app classes to make the recipient selection easier. So things like company, department, pay group, matrix team, task group, work group. If you want to send to those, all you need to do is select that and select, you can get prompted for some of it. So for instance, if you selected the pay group, it may prompt you for the company and the pay group you want to use, but you can specify it at that level and not have to go and figure out exactly who is in that. So you can also use SQL. So if you write SQL to define a recipient type, you can use that. We can use queries. So any query that you have access to, you can set up a query that returns the employee ID, and then we can use that. You can specify roles. So if you want to send it to, say, all payroll administrators, and that's a role in your system, you can do that. You can also send it to system-wide, so everyone in the system. Okay, let's look at some recent enhancements. So in image 34, we did deliver some enhancements. The first one was to be able to enter a sender email address. And this was the number one thing asked for, and it's basically to be able to put an address other than your own email address into as the from address. You can specify a priority for sending an email, preview the recipient list, and that's in a couple of places. You'll be able to do that. We've simplified the recipient setup. And then on the administrator level, we have a summary log of emails sent. So we've created a page for that. And an administrator is able to view, edit, or delete any notification. So let's look at these in a little more detail. So this is the ability to enter a sender email address. So here, the default is that the sender is user, and it will come up with your email address. However, if I change it to other, it opens up the email ID, and now I can put any email ID I want. So the reason for this is that if there is, say, a payroll shared mailbox or benefit, or any of the other departments, if there is a shared mailbox, you can put that there, and then the from will be from that mailbox rather than your own. Again, this was the number one thing asked for as an enhancement, and it was delivered in image 34. The second thing is specifying a priority for sending an email. So you notice, so if you have something that is of high importance and they need to look at it immediately, you can set the priority as high, and the email systems, if they have a priority, will show it. You're able to view recipients. So now in this instance, in this example, I have selected the benefits department 10500. And if I want to just verify exactly who is in that list and who this email will be sent to, I can click on the view recipient list and it will show me who is in that department at that time. The only thing to note is that notifications can be scheduled, can be saved and sent at a later time, and it will take the recipients at the time it is sent. So if this list should change, somebody comes into the department, somebody leaves the department, that will be reflected at the time this notification is sent. And we simplified the recipient setup. So especially in the case where you have a query-based recipient type. So what this means is that I create a query. So in this case, HR not KU2 recipients. And I don't have any prompts there. I say, I just want these people. I want people in the KU2 pay group that, have blue eyes or something. So, or have, size 4 feet. So I specify the query, there's no prompts. It will then give you this message when you click next. And it'll say that this query does not require the select prompt record or select prompt search field. And so it will skip those 2 next steps. You click OK and then, oops, sorry. You click OK and it goes directly to the confirmation step. Okay. The next one is the administrator function where there's a view summary log of emails sent. So we had previously delivered the ability to log the emails that were sent and if there were errors or not. However, it was in a table and you had to create your own query to view it. So in image 34, we delivered a page in which you can view the log. And as we'll see, there's various options for how you log it. So you can log everything. You can log just the failures. And then when you come into the log, you can see, you can filter it by seeing everything, just the failures, just the ones that went through. And for the ones that fail, it will show a little bit of a comment as to why it failed. So obviously the number one will be in our demo data will be that we have no email address in the employee's user profile. But there could be other reasons. And then the last enhancement that we delivered in 34 is the ability for an administrator to view, edit, or delete any notification. And how we do that is through here, we name who the administrator is and what their access is. Now, this was my personal input because in case you ever had somebody who sent an erroneous notification out, and they were no longer available, you needed someone or some way to be able to delete that or modify the notification. And so that's why I thought that this capability was necessary. Okay. So now let's look at a demonstration. So let me first log in as John Patterson. So we can create a notification. So we did deliver a tile for HR notification. So you can put that on their home page or on a home page. So in this case, John wants to add a new notification. So we do add a new value, and then we could have a description. Let's say this is a Labor Day timesheet submission. And here we can see that he does have various methods that he can use. So he can send it as an announcement. He could do an announcement and the notification with, remember, the notification would appear up here. He could send it as an email or a combination. So in this case, let's do an email. So you'll see email template here, but these are if you have a developer. So we've delivered some of these. So for instance, for e-performance, they do use this and they have a template. Or you can have sample, and we have sample appraisal notifications, service completions. But this is something that your programmers will have to help you with because it does require app classes, for instance. So in our case, we don't want to create an app class. We don't need to, so we won't put that in there. Again, we can set a priority here. So this is going to, let's say it's a medium. And I don't want it sent from my email address because I don't want all the complaints. So I'll say other. And then I can put in the payroll services at, at gbi.com. And here, this is where in my opinion, the great part about HR notifications is that we pre-deliver, or predefine some of these recipient types. So a lot of these are, I don't think I did one, but a lot of these are defined for you, so you don't have to, go in and get a developer to create the app class, for instance, to know, if I say HR business unit, how does it get that information? We've delivered that capability already for you. So in this case, let's go ahead and pick a pay group. Say we want this to go to GBI. And we want a couple of pay groups. And so we search for it. We come up with 34, but we know we only want these first two. So we can select that, say OK, and then it's automatically populated here. So we can do the same thing for CC and BCC. And if we want to see who this email will go to, we click on the View Recipient List. So this is that other enhancement that we delivered in 34. And we can see that it's going to 130 people. So it's a good thing to be able to look and see if the people you expect it to go to are on that list, or if you know the numbers it should be going to. And then we can go ahead and put in our subject. And let's put in our message. So in the message, it is using what's called a rich text editor. And what that means is that you can format. Oops, we don't want to do that. So I can format it. I could say, we want to make this bold, stand it out. We can make it a different color. So you can get crazy. You can put links in. You can put a grid in. You can put a picture. So there's a lot of flexibility because it is a rich text editor. Up here under advanced options, you can say what day you want to post it on. So maybe we don't want to post it yet. Maybe we say we want to wait until the 31st. If this were an announcement, we can have an expiration and we can say whether the user can delete this announcement. So once they read it, can they go ahead and delete it? If we want to set up a recurrence, so we want to send this out, weekly, for instance, we could do that. In this case, we don't want to. And here's the one for email, we have logging options. So right now we only log emails. We can do exceptions only, or if we turn this off, we will log everything, whether the exceptions and the successes. So we click OK here. We can do things like we can add links. So you predefine the links first. That might take some developer to do, although you can do it if you want to take them to a particular menu item. So in this case, you could say, I want a link to the timesheet. And so it would include that. You could add an attachment. You choose a file and you upload it to the server, and you can attach it, and the users will be able to see it. The recipients, that is. Okay. And so you see the attachment down here, or the link down here, sorry. So at this point, I can save it, and that's saved. Now, if it were in this case, we had said we want to post it on 8/31. So what you would do is there is a process to send out the notifications, or it's called process notifications. And that should be set up in, say, Process Scheduler or whatever scheduler, job scheduler you have, to run at least daily. You could run it more than that if you wanted. But what it does is it will send the notifications, or if in the case of announcement, you have an end date to it, it will, then drop the announcements. So it's kind of your maintenance of this. So when 831 comes and we run that process, it would send out this email. Okay. So let's look at searching for notification. So here, John is, sorry, I'm in California and we've got the wildfires, and so the smoke has kind of played with my throat here. So if I search for a notification, I see that I have the one that I just created, which is posting on 8/31. I created an email earlier today, and I can go ahead and see that. Or yesterday, I made another announcement, and so I can go in and I can edit this. I could delete this, or I could change it, for instance. Okay. So what other ways can we create a notification? Well, let's go back to the manager self-service, and on team time, and this is just one example of where you can, but we'll be using the related action. Sorry, I did cache this earlier, so it should be fast. Okay, so we're on the leave and comp time. So we go to Dan, we pull it up, and we say, well, his balance is over the maximum allowed. So maybe we need to talk to him about that. So from the related actions menu, we can click on notify employee. This works a little bit differently. So it does automatically know that it's a notification. It puts Dan's information in here, so you don't have to drop it in because it already knows. And so say let's do Oh, leave balance. Maybe the message is okay. Okay, so hi Dan, we want to see you. We can go ahead and send this off. Yes, we want to send it now. Okay, so it's that easy. So that's been sent, and you'll see it later when we look at the logs. You'll see that it's been sent. Okay. So there is, I did tell you that People Tools does provide the framework for this. And so it's underlying. So before HR notifications was created, there was the People Tools notification functionality. I will show you what that looks like so that when you see it, you know what it is. And you won't wonder, "Well, why aren't I seeing the predefined recipients?" So in this case, we'll go to benefits, employee dependent beneficiary, update dependent beneficiary. We'll pull up Rosanna's records. And here, maybe we have a question as to, well, we thought Robert's name was spelled differently. So we can go ahead and do notify. You see, this looks a bit different. When we go to look up a recipient, we don't have that list of predefined recipient types. We can search for Rosanna. One thing to note, you can't search on first name, last name. So I can say, okay, I want to send it to Rosanna. So one of the things that you see right offhand is that if, say, you wanted to send it to an entire department, you would have to be able to name each of the people in the department rather than in HR notifications where you can just say, I want the benefits department, for instance. So we add that to the recipient list, click OK, and then we can go ahead and enter our message. Now for delivery options, they just give you the ability to put it on someone's work list or to send an email. So it doesn't actually send a push notification. So that's kind of the major differences here. Let's cancel out of this. Okay. So from here, let's also look at one last thing, and let's look at the announcements tile. So I mentioned earlier that you can see that there's more than one. There's 4 here. If I click on the tile, I can actually see all of the announcements. So I can, to look at it, I click on this, and I can see the, the entire announcement. This is the link that I included. I can click on that. So then it will mark it as read. I can also mark it as unread, and I can remove it, which I accidentally did. I had one set up that I could remove, but I accidentally removed it, I think, and it's not here. But otherwise, you will see remove. And that all goes under that setup, whether you allow them to remove it. So the other one I want to show you is this one here. So this one, you see there are links in it that we've put in through that rich text editor. We also have an attachment of a file that they can look at. And there's different formatting here. So there's a lot that you can do in this announcement. And again, this announcement tile came out in image 29. So let's go in as an administrator and let's look at some of the administrator functionality. So we'll go in as Rosanna Channing. Rosanna's sister, sorry, get them mixed up all the time. So let's go to, I could search for this, but just so that you know. Well, let's do the first thing. First thing, let me show you. You remember that I showed you how John Patterson could search for his notification. Well, Rosanna's an administrator, so she has more access. So when she searches, she sees everything. So she even sees the ones that John created. So this timesheet due, the timesheet hours, and the Labor Day timesheet submission, those are the ones that John just did. And I can go in and I can change it as an administrator. I can delete it, and I can also change the options. So since this one is, say, posting, I could change the posting date, for instance. And this happened just kind of for amusement's sake, but it happened because someone had put in sample data into, or demo data that I didn't know about, and I wanted to remove it. But because I didn't know who had put it in, I didn't, or under which login, I couldn't remove it. We had to go look through the back end and SQL updated, and I thought that just was not good. So that's why I insisted we put in this functionality. Okay, so let's go and look at the installation settings, the configuration of this. Okay. So I can go to recent places, but let me show you where you find it. It's under Setup HCM, Common Definitions, because this part is a HCM common item, and it's HR notification. So we have a whole bunch of things. So I did show you, tell you about configuring links. You could configure it and then use it. But let's look at installation settings first. So first off, you need to enable the HR notifications. So you can do that by clicking on here. Next, you can say who has access to it and what they have access to. So you may say, all my, administrators have access to it, and they can send announcements or a notification. And then here, the important thing is you have the HR administrator and what they can do. So here you can have them only be able to read other people's notifications, or you can have them read and update it. So let's keep that set to read and update. And you can allow multiple roles to do this, or you can have just the one role. Okay. Next, let's look at the recipient setup. So here we set up the different recipient types. So I mentioned earlier, we have 4 different recipient types. We have app classes, the SQL, the role-based, query, and then there's system-wide. So let's go ahead and look at a role-based one for now. So this is for defining a payroll administrator. So of course you have your description, what it is. The data type is, because we provided this as sample data, that's what's going to be listed here. If you create it, you would want to create it under customer data. That way, if there's any upgrades, you are not impacted. And then this is built on an activity guide. So you go to the next, click on next to go to the next step. You set up security here. So who can use this recipient type? So maybe you create a query of, and I hate to say it, but it happens to everybody. So we're going to have a reduction in force. And so you set up a query with the reduction in force people on it. Well, you don't want just anybody to be able to access that recipient type, because in most organizations, I know that's very, highly secretive information. So you would limit who can use that recipient type. Okay. The next one is you can have, what is the method you're using? So here you will see that all users, and that's that system-wide, app class, query, role-based, and SQL. So in this case, we're going to do a role-based, and we specify the role down here. Okay. So with this role, okay, okay. So then it confirms, who. So based upon that list, who can use this recipient type. And then if I wanted to see the recipient list, I would click on this and it would prompt me as if I was actually using it. Sorry, this is a development database, and I share this server with hundreds of other databases. So sometimes it's a little slow. Oh, so in this case, sorry, this is the role-based one. So it will just give me everybody who has that role. And there's 463 people, as you can see here. So let's exit this and let's look at another recipient type. Let's look at a query-based. Okay. So we could limit it and just ask for query-based. I think we only have one, so it takes us to the pay group. So again, this is sample data. We have no specific roles that can use this, so that means everybody can use it. And here we have query-based. So if you wanted to see if we use different sources, like an app class, then this select source would change. It would ask for the app package in the app class. You saw the role in the query. It will ask for the query. Same thing with SQL. It would ask for the SQL. So here, this is a query we built previously. And so this query has prompts. So it will ask for, what are the prompt information? So what's the prompt record and the prompt fields that are needed? And again, then it will confirm. Okay. And from here, you can submit if this was a new recipient. Okay. So the last piece I want to show you is the notifications log. Okay. So here's the log of what has been sent. And remember that only emails are logged here. But here we can see that one was sent previously, and we had 116 people that this was sent to. And this is showing everyone. So if we wanted to see just the failed, we can go ahead and filter it. And we see, and it will show us why. Because this is demo data, it's because the employee profile is missing an email address. Or if you want to see which ones were successfully sent, then you can see that as well. And because this is a grid, you can download this to Excel. You can download it when it has everything, and so that you can then sort and figure out what happened for this. Okay. So that's it for the demo. Let's go ahead and go back to hold on, let me pull this back up. There we go. Okay. Oh. So notifications in PeopleSoft. I did show you that there are, there are still some of the older People Tools ways of sending notifications through the notify button. What I failed to mention when I was doing the demo is that if you look in PeopleBook, there is a way, and it tells you exactly how to change that notify button from People Tools functionality to the HR notification functionality. So if you like the HR notification functionality better, you can change that even on the older classic pages. Okay, so People Tools notification. It's a framework that consolidates notifications from multiple events. App classes are used by other frameworks to use the People Tools push notification email capability. And in classic pages, the tools notifications are invoked from the notify link or button, usually on the bottom of a page of a classic page. Okay. Enterprise Components also has an events and notifications framework. This is not widely used in HCM, although it probably should be. It is widely used in FSCM. And the capabilities, I just wanted to mention it here so that, because if you are looking at notification functionality, you should be aware of what is possible and what might be out there. So the enterprise component events and notifications can be configured and used to monitor business processes and create messages when unusual situations or errors occur within a PeopleSoft process or table. You can you can create an event, you can create a notification or an alert, although I realize notifications and alerts are kind of the same thing. So for an event, you can define, implement, and run business logic for specified events. So for instance, if someone does something or puts in some information in the system and you want to kick off an event and a notification, that's possible. You can monitor the system and send notifications when exceptions are found. Instead of system customizations to send alerts in real time, the system relies on the PeopleSoft query and an app engine. So you would run this process or run the query on a regular basis, and it would recognize, the error and send out the notification. And the messages are configured through the text catalog. So rather than you having to hard code, it is configurable. So then I just wanted to kind of highlight some of the differences between the People Tools notifications and HR notifications. So People Tools, you can specify recipients individually, like I showed you. Whereas HR notifications, you specify recipients using a variety of recipient types. So we can have the lookup here. People Tools has 3 delivery options. You can create a work list, an email, and there is the ability to do a notification, but that's usually kicked off from a process. On the HR notification side, we can do an announcement, a notification, and an email. So you might be asking yourself, when do I use the HR notification framework? You can use it as a related action. So related actions are configurable. So if you wanted to use a notify employee related action, you would get the HR notification framework. If you wanted a quick ad hoc notification, you can do it as, just going to HR notification and creating one, or you can use it as the related action, like we did with Dan Atwood in my demo. And when developers aren't available, to tell you the truth, because there's less technical expertise that is needed to do a quick communication. And most people can either use the app classes that we've defined to select, a pay group or a department or a business unit, excuse me, that you want to send it to, or just send it to individual employees. And if you don't need it kicked off in response to an event or process, if you needed that, then you would use the enterprise components, events, and notifications framework. But here, this is more, direct. I need a communication sent out. A one-time communication, such as with the announcements, or if you want to do a recurring communication. Let's look at the roadmap that we have. It's kind of short and simple, kind of like me. So we have two things right now. One is predefined notification variables. So you may want to say, well, I don't want my emails, I might be sending an email out to a whole business unit, but I don't want it to be so impersonal. Maybe I want it to say, hi, John, hi, Sally, hi, Sue, hi, Betty. You want to personalize it a little bit by using their name, maybe using their job title, or something about them that can be gleaned from their job information, for instance. So we are looking at how we can maybe, kind of like how we predefined those recipient types, predefine some of the notification variables that you can use from one message to another. And then the second item is the ability to maintain categories. So we have different categories, and right now we have only a few defined, and it's categories that we have created. But give the customers the ability to maintain those categories so you can separate out the information a little bit more. Because as you can imagine, if you have all your administrators able to send out notifications, it can get to be a lot of information. And it just would give you another way to filter your information. So before we get to Q&A, I just wanted to give you leave you with some information. And this presentation will be available from Quest. And so this is some information. So there's the PeopleBooks entry, links to that. We have done a blog on HR notifications, the new features, making employee communications faster and easier. And that came out with image 34. Having fun with the new HCM fluid announcement tile that came out in 29. And of course, short demos of this are available in the image 29 highlights and 34 highlights, respectively. Okay. Taryn, are there any questions?
Yes, we do have quite a few questions. So if we don't have time to go through all of them, I will send them to you all after, and then we will send the answered ones back to all of the attendees. So
Okay.
I will go ahead with the first. So they're wondering if there are any plans to add text messaging as a notification type, just so they can text employees reminders for open enrollment, especially as some are still on furlough. The ability to text would be great.
Um, Yes and no. So the answer, I know I give answers like that all the time and people don't like it, but so People Tools is adding the ability to text. So because as you saw, a lot of our functionality lies on top of People Tools. Once they have the capability, then we can build that into our product. It's not on the roadmap yet because we want to see how it's implemented in People Tools. We have to understand how they're going to implement it first before we can put that functionality in. But we are looking at that. It is a very definite possibility, but I cannot promise it yet.
Okay. And the next question is, I'm on image 33, and my biggest pain point is that only the person who created the notification has access to that notification. Is there a way where anyone who has navigation access can view all notifications?
Yep. And that's the administrator one. So you have to go to image 34, pull down that feature, that all the HR notification enhancements, and you'll be able to set up an administrator that has access to everything. And so you can give that role, that administrator role, to whomever you like. I don't necessarily suggest sending it out to a lot of people, but you may want to have a few people who have that control.
Okay. And the next few questions is all from the same person, so I'm just going to kind of read them kind of get together. So when
Okay.
you use reoccurrence, there's no visibility of the notification in terms of when the next broadcast is scheduled. And then when you don't use the process notifications and just use send from HR notifications. In addition, when you use process notifications and use a reoccurrence on the process scheduler, it respects the reoccurrence on the process scheduler and ignores the reoccurrence on the HR notification.
Okay. So was there a question there?
So I think that might just be the comments from that
Okay.
section.
Okay.
Those also went with the question before. So the next questions that we have, is there an admin view of email/HR notifications where you can search by, and I'm not sure if they meant email, but they put EM. Lisa, you can also see this question. Search by Emplid.
Oh, Impl ID. Oh,
Okay.
okay. Rajagopal, I know you're online. If you can you unmute yourself, and do you know if that's possible to search by Impl ID?
Search by employee ID to select the
I think that was in the log, right?
recipients.
In the log of sent emails.
Is it for selection of the recipients or the employee
Yeah, the recipients.
who created the notification?
No, it's the recipients.
Okay. So I think in the log we can see the employee ID. Yeah.
Okay.
In
Okay.
the
I
log we
think
can see employee IDs. Yeah.
okay.
In the we have employee called employee. So once you select the type, the recipient type of ID by employee ID and yeah.
Okay. I think that was the question, right, Tyron?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
So the next question, is this functionality available in PUM 33 or only in 34?
So the base HR notification functionality is available far before 33, but the new functionality, those enhancements, the 6 enhancements I showed you, those are available from 34 on.
Okay.
And
And when
really, a
there are
lot of
multiple,
people, well, sorry, just to add one more thing, and a lot of people think that there isn't that much, I mean, that it's not as usable. For the individual notifications, it was fine, but without that, being able to specify that other email address, a lot of people were not willing to uptake the feature until that, but they've been quite happy with it since then.
okay.
Yeah.
And when there are multiple announcements, what determines which announcement text appears on the announcements tile?
I think it's by date order, so the descending. So the last one that was sent is the one that appears on the, yeah.
Okay. So in
Yeah.
your instance, the notifications are under a bell icon. In mine, it is a flag icon. Is this a change with 858 tools? I'm on 857.
It is a change with 858 tools.
Okay. And the next question that we have is, can the administrator transfer the ownership of a notification to another employee since the control is based on OPRID?
No, no, they can't. But if, I mean, that's a good idea. If you want to, see it, I would definitely suggest you put it on the ideas page.
Okay. And does view recipients list work if you're using a query or SQL to build a list?
Yes. Yeah. So any
Yes.
kind of list that you use, whether you use query, SQL, app class, role, all of those will show under the view recipient list.
Okay, and can you input variables in the email like preferred name for that empl ID?
Not yet. That's that enhancement that we have on the roadmap. I mean, not yet as delivered. Now, if you have a developer who creates an app class for you and creates an email template, then yes, you can do it. It is possible for you to do as a customer, but not right out of the box.
Okay. And was there a new role for the administrator? Is there any concern with the number of emails sent or logged? For example, is there any issue with sending 9,000 email notifications at once?
Not from a PeopleSoft standpoint, but from your mail server standpoint, there might be. So we can't say that there's an issue because, as I said, from the PeopleSoft standpoint, we can handle that volume, but you may have to break it up because your mail server maybe can't handle that volume at one time.
Okay.
That's right, Rajagopal? Oops, I know he was having some problems with this audio.
I think his audio might have went out. So the
Okay.
next question is, does the notification log identify which notification the entry is for?
Yeah, because so the high level is the notification that was sent. And then when you click on details, then you see everybody it was sent to, or the people that was errored if you only captured the errors. So yeah, you can see what notification it was for.
Okay. And I'm going to kind of skip down. So the question, well, what we thought was comments earlier, I think the question is which reoccurrence is recommended to be used when scheduling HR notifications?
Okay, that one we'll have to get back to people because I'll have to get Rajagopal to look at that and answer that.
Okay.
Rajagopal is the developer and the architect that worked on it. So he, I have him on to answer the hard questions like those.
We do have quite a few questions left, so we'll probably take one or two more, and then we will kind of close out for today, and we will get back to everybody with the rest of the questions.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds great.
Okay. So the next question that we have is, if we haven't installed PUM34, what's the name of the table we can query for the notification log details?
Yeah, that one we'll have to get back to. I don't know that one off the top of my head, unfortunately.
No problem. So the last question that we'll try out is, are any of the features shown today dependent on our tools release, and what version is needed?
I don't think there is any tools dependency on that. No. The only difference is, like you said, like someone mentioned earlier, the notification will go from a flag to a bell in 858, but the underlying functionality is still the same.
Okay. Okay, so thank you. So we do have a little bit of questions left, but again, I'll send those over to you all and get those answered. So thanks
Okay.
again, everyone, for joining us today. So keep on the lookout on your email, and we will kind of put the recording and all the answers to the question in the same email. So I'll make sure to send that out to everybody so you guys can get these answers. So thanks again, Lisa, for coming and speaking with everyone today. We really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Taryn, for having us.
Okay, thanks, everyone.
Bye.